Today I'm going to tell you why you should pump your brakes on the Jalen Hurts to Oklahoma speculation and all that's coming up after the bumper.
What do you mean you don't subscribe to my son's YouTube channel?
Mama, no!
Just snap the damn ball, RJ.
What's up, kid folk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. So it's OU related, college football related, sports related. We have a good time. And today I'm going to tell you why you should pump your brakes on the Jalen Hurts to Oklahoma speculation. But first, I got this t-shirt. Says Bama don't want us. For all the folks who believe and know that it ain't that we don't want Bama. It's that Bama don't want us. As in, Bama don't want Oklahoma because Bama ain't beat Oklahoma since 1963. And that, as they say, is not the fake news. All right, so now let's talk about Jalen Hurts to Oklahoma. And I gotta lay this out. We're gonna cover a lot of ground here because it's not just Jalen Hurts. It's also Khalil Tate. It's also Austin Kendall. It's also Tanner Mordecai. And it's also Spencer Rattler. So let's think about this for just a second. Let's start with Khalil Tate. Now, it's come to light that Khalil Tate is unhappy about the situation at Arizona, mostly because Arizona's garbage, but also because Kevin Sumlin came in there and changed the way that Khalil Tate has to play quarterback. Khalil Tate was basically playing in a glorified triple option under Rich Rod. Then Rich Rod got fired. Kevin Sumlin came in there, and the one thing we know that Kevin Sumlin is good at is running off great quarterbacks. You can see Johnny Football, you can see Kyle Allen, you can see Kyler Murray, and now it seems Khalil Tate. Now, Khalil Tate has not announced he's transferring anywhere. It's just kind of been thrown out there that Khalil Tate is a pretty outstanding quarterback who's shown over the last 3 years that he can both run and pass. As a matter of fact, if you were drafting college football fantasy players, you could see that Khalil Tate was at the top of the list for a lot of fantasy owners this season, and it just didn't go the way that they planned. However, Khalil Tate showed that he does have the arm and the arm talent and the accuracy to be an elite quarterback at the FBS level. That said, there are a lot of other quarterbacks that are a bit better at throwing the football around the yard than Khalil Tate, and it's not necessarily a great fit for him to come to Oklahoma. Now, I know that a lot of folks would say Khalil Tate to Oklahoma because it seems that Lincoln Riley can turn anybody into a Heisman Trophy winner, and when you look at the last two guys that he had as his signal caller, they're both Heisman Trophy winners. I just don't see it, man. I mean, I know the numbers are good, and I know that he's good, but the fit just doesn't make any sense to me, especially when he can go somewhere else, like, say, I don't know, Auburn, where he is a great fit for the basketball on grass that is Gus Malzahn's offense. And now that Gus Malzahn is back to calling plays at Auburn, it makes all the sense in the world to me that Khalil Tate would take an opportunity to transfer there like Jarrett Stidham did from Baylor and become the kind of prototypical Nick Marshall kind of guy that Gus Malzahn loves to have at quarterback and for which Auburn could thrive. And in a year where Gus Malzahn is going to have to come up with the goods or get fired next year, I could see him putting feelers out there and saying, Khalil, why don't you come to Auburn where we basically run a version of the offense that you thrived in, and let's go win an SEC title and let's go play for a national championship. That makes sense to me. But Khalil Tate to Oklahoma does not. Now moving on to Jalen Hurts. Again, it's the kind of thing where it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Now there are folks that would say Jalen Hurts to Oklahoma feels good because Oklahoma is a thriving program. And Oklahoma has proven that it can make the college football playoff 3 of the last 5 years, right? 5 years there's been a college football playoff. Oklahoma's made 3 of them. This year, arguably, without a defense. So it's not as if Oklahoma isn't a great landing place for any quarterback. That's why we were talking about Khalil Tate earlier. But in Jalen Hurts, you're talking about a guy who would walk in to Oklahoma having the thing that nobody on that staff except Cale Gundy has, which is a national championship ring. And it ain't like this dude is a normal backup. We know that he started at Alabama. We know that he got benched for Tua Tagovailoa, and then Tua Tagovailoa won a national championship, and he's been the starter ever since. I think that Jalen Hurts would want to transfer for no other reason but to get more film on tape for the NFL to have a career as a quarterback in the league. That said, I don't necessarily think that Oklahoma is a good fit for this guy. And it's not as if he would be doing Oklahoma a favor by coming to Oklahoma. I'll get to more on that in a minute. But you're also talking about a guy who's going to have to battle for the job. And I think that Jalen Hurts would want to go to a place where his pedigree and his resume would speak in such a way that he flat out just gets to say, no, I'm the dude, I'm the starter, that's for me. And maybe you could have some musical chairs where Jalen Hurts ends up at Arizona, but I don't see it. You could maybe have an opportunity for Jalen Hurts to go to Texas, but since Sam Hargy Ellinger has kind of had that locked up, I don't see it. You could talk about him going to Houston, but would he really want to go to a group of 5 team? No, I don't see it. As a matter of fact, the fit for him, I think, if he's choosing to transfer, is actually Nebraska, because Scott Frost would know exactly what to do with that guy's skill set. Nebraska does not really have a quarterback for which they want to bet it all on, though that they do have a quarterback. I could see that dude going up there thriving and challenging for a Big Ten title in a year where Ryan Day is going to have to prove it, James Franklin is going to have to prove it, and Jim Harbaugh, if he still has his job, is going to have to prove it. And I think Nebraska could actually do some really great things with Scott Frost and Jalen Hurts there. Now, why do I think that neither one of these guys would really come to Oklahoma? It's because this is Austin Kendall's job, and he has been monumentally slept on since basically we found out that Kyler Murray signed a baseball contract and won a Heisman Trophy. I've just been operating under the assumption that Austin Kendall is the best guy for the job at Oklahoma. And it's not just because he's been in the system for 3 years. It's because he's learned at the knee of Lincoln Riley for 3 years, and he's watched 2 Heisman Trophy winners go ahead of him. And if he was taking notes the way that Kyler Murray was taking notes on Baker Mayfield, yeah, we're okay. By the way, did everybody forget that it wasn't like Kyler Murray outplayed Austin Kendall in the spring game? Now, as my buddy Steve likes to say, there's only so much you can tell with blue jerseys on. But nobody could see any separation where we all thought we would see a lot of separation by a 5-star quarterback versus the guy that came in as a pro-style quarterback when the dude that transferred to FAU, Chris Robinson, fell through. So again, I'm just saying that it's not as if Austin Kendall wasn't already competing for the job and then straight into preseason camp. You heard Lincoln Riley say, this is one of the toughest decisions I've had to make at the quarterback position. So either Lincoln Riley was bold-faced lying to all of us about how close that competition was, or Austin Kendall really is that good. And if Austin Kendall really is that good, we're looking at another guy who could be up for the Heisman Trophy. And to that end, Austin Kendall has better odds from my bookie to win the Heisman Trophy than Jalen Hurts does. He's plus 1,000. Right? So just go place a bet on Austin Kendall to make the Heisman Trophy as finalist and then maybe to win it because, yeah, you stand to make a lot of money right now just by putting $10 down on the dude that I think is going to be the starter for Oklahoma in September 2019. All right, that's it for me. Deuces.